Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Chats with Wisdom Word. Today I've invited Sonja Elison, a really good friend of mine and a wonderful astrologer, to speak about the upcoming Aquarius full moon. We're in Leo season, August, and the opposite of Leo is Aquarius. So this is a very exciting full moon. According to a lot of the channeling I've done, the time we're in right now is super special and full of energy and full of lots of things going on. And so I was having a chat with Sonia, and she was telling me that this full moon is really exciting to her. So you want to tell us a few reasons why you're so interested in sharing information about this full moon, Sonia?
I would love to. Thank you for doing this and helping to spread the word about this full moon. I think that's important to say. Um, so the reason that I thought that this full moon was so important, and it was so important for me to share it with Melissa and for us to get the information out, is this is not just a historical event. This is a chart which there hasn't been one in history that has been this powerful and this full of transformation and change. The reason for that is all of the major planets are at 1 degree, and that's the starting of a new age, really. It feels very much like this is the start of the age of Aquarius. So when the plant these major planets, and Saturn and Neptune are at 1 degree of Aquarius, which is the point of creation, and they've never been in conjunction at this degree before. And so you have a chart where all of the planets are sharing their energy and helping each other. And so not only are the major planets, which are the most powerful, in extraordinarily powerful points, but they're all helping each other to make this new age a reality.
I
And
love the way you're saying, talking about the new age in the beginning, because the channeling indicates, especially last July full moon, indicated that we are already on the new earth and it's here. And not to take our time looking at what's falling apart, but rather open to what opportunities are there. And I think that's one of the things that you're excited about in this chart is opportunities being presented to step into the
absolutely,
new world, to step into our new identities, our new selves. Hmm.
absolutely. And so taking a look at the chart, I think when we put the chart up, you'll see that there is all of the lines represent interactions between the planets, and you'll see how just the picture will show you how intense this energy is. And we'll talk about it in depth too, so you can understand why all of this is just such an incredible step into the new age.
Looking forward. Can't wait to hear what you have to share today.
Okay, so as Melissa pointed out, the full moon is a time of concentrated energy, and that actually helps me to explain why this full moon on the 9th of August is so important. So the couple of things about planets in the sky. They become more powerful in the chart as they work together, kind of like a football team or a band. If they're all working together, they're much more powerful than if they're all doing different things. And in this chart, what you what you really see, maybe Melissa, we could put the chart up now. What you can really see is that all of the planets are working together. And the way that you can see it in this chart is by just looking at all of the blue and the red lines. What you can see is everything is, they are all talking to each other, they're all connected with each other. So they're all working together. So, like the grand finale of a fireworks show, everything's going off at once.
Wow.
Now, the other part that makes this chart so powerful, there are three reasons, is that the major outer planets, which are the most powerful in our lives, especially for long-term um, changes in energy, they're all at 1 degree. And Saturn, which astrologers connect with our earthly reality, is at 1 degree of Aries, which is the point of creation.
And so this is up
And
here, right?
yeah, it's right up there at the top,
Okay.
which is another very powerful place. And Neptune, which is connected with spiritual reality, is exactly in conjunction. And this means that their energies are fusing. And so instead of having, you know, Saturn out there and Neptune out there, they're actually working together to create a new reality.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, that's literally what it means, which is just amazing. Um, Now, for you and I and Melissa and, uh, Bobby Jr. out there, what that means in our personal lives is that we can manifest our dreams, which is also something that's been coming across a lot in reality in Melissa's channeling. And
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a really important message. So you've got Saturn, which is reality, Neptune, material reality, Neptune, which is spiritual reality, in fusion. Now, this is going to last for quite a while. Right now, the planets are in retrograde motion, which means we've got time to walk off stage and learn our lines better.
Hmm.
That
Good way.
period is going to end. It's going to end. They're going to be exactly together again on February 20th. So between now and February 20th, we have this period where these planets are saying, okay, get ready. We're going to shift, and the shift is going to be tremendous.
You
So,
know, I'm just going to break in for a minute. In the last maybe several, 4 or 5 readings I've done, that space up to February has come up. And now I have another backup to it just coming through. That's really cool.
yeah, I mean, when you get kind of a time frame like this, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and if you look straight down from where Saturn and Neptune are there at the top of the chart, you see the little circle with an arrow on it at the bottom of the chart. That's Mars. That's exactly right. Yeah, you got it. Mars is known as a timekeeper of the universe. And look where Mars is now, one
Where?
degree of Libra. And so the another amazing thing about astrology is you can look at Mars and you can figure out when things are going to happen. And so Mars is right exactly where it's saying it's go time, which is again, the full moon chart with all of these planets at 1 degree is just saying it's time, which I think is amazing. Um, so that's why this chart is so powerful and such a good learning tool, and is asking us very strongly to pay attention.
Yeah.
So, Melissa, would you like to make some comments, or should I go ahead with kind of more details about this?
Yeah, well, one of the things I was thinking when you pointed to it's go time, and I was just actually looking on my phone. I had taken excerpts out from the July full moon, and there's a couple of points where the new healed whole Mother Earth speaks through, the galactic presence spoke through, Saint Germain and Kuan Yin, I think. And there's one point they were just, they keep saying the time is now, you're there, you're doing it, you have to drop the past. And I think of a channeling that came through several full moons in the last several years where they spoke of the myth of Lot's wife in the Bible, where Sodom and Gomorrah is being blown up and everyone's told, we'll lead you out of it. Spirit tells them, we'll lead you, or God tells them, we'll lead you and your people out of this mess, but don't look back. And Lot's wife looks back and she's turned into a pillar of salt. And I've always thought that the metaphor of that is, being fully present in the moment and doing what you need to do, following the Dharma, following the path, following the tools, rather than looking back and moaning about, the past. You're bringing it forward. We're in an unprecedented time. I've heard a number of astrologers say that some of the things on the chart, and you were mentioning to me before, haven't happened in so many thousands of years. We have no idea where we're going to. We don't have a point of reference in the past anymore. So looking at the past is not only, trying to narrow your perspective, but this is a time to imagine. And I'm hoping that you can kind of point it out, that you can imagine the new world. You can just step into healing and wholeness and equanimity for people and out of this greed pattern. So I'm thinking of that. And then the other thing I was thinking of when you said it's Mars go-to time, interests me that the go-to time, 1 degree of Mars opposite this top of the full moon, is also, when Mars is in Libra, it's in its most balanced place and its less warrior-like place. So what would you have to say about that? I think that would be super interesting.
Yeah, it certainly is. So the the position of Mars, I think, is really interesting because when you look at an astrological chart, what is really important is finding balance. And so oppositions are they're not negative as much as they are they're like trying to find the balance between acting in this way and acting in that way. And Mars right here is, are we acting solely for the sake of others, or are we acting solely for the sake of ourselves? Or are we understanding that we are a part of the whole? And what we do for ourselves or what we do for others is a part of the whole story, kind of like a cell in the body. It should be our actions, our will, our driving force, our motivations. Um, they are they are most harmonious when we're balancing the self and others. And so, this full moon is, the moon's actually in Aquarius. The sun is in Leo. And so the depiction of, what is the light shining on? What is it focused on? I like to talk about Leo as I love me and Aquarius as I love you. So there's this dichotomy again, this polarity of are we us as individuals or are we part of the whole? And the answer is in finding that balance. It's not about just, you know, yay for me and to hell with you, or yay for you and to hell with me. It's about working together.
Yeah, and I'm pointing to the glyph down here. This is the glyph of Libra. And
Yes.
maybe you can say something. I was just looking, so I guess it's in the fourth house, which
Hmm.
ultimately is home about all of us. The earth is our home. Uh,
Right,
so interesting.
right, right. There's actually a lot to say about that. But one of the things that is such a good learning tool, and I feel like it would be helpful to focus on, what does this chart tell us in terms of how do we think about these things? Like how do we think about being our true unique selves? And how do, Mars in Libra, the sign that thinks of others all the time, is a little bit hard to understand because Mars is about expressing yourself. So, how do you express yourself when you're thinking of others? You can do that. It's a little bit, you have to think about your perspective, but you don't put yourself in a box and lock that up and just please the other person. You figure out how to balance those two energies. And that's one of the things that I think Mars is right there is telling us is balance your own desires, balance your own will with that of others in order to create harmony.
Yeah, finding a way to come into equanimity as a group consciousness, which is where we're moving, whether we like it or not. And so I think the choice, or I liked you talking about opposition before, and I think of the opposite sometimes as opportunities, opportunity to find that place of balance between the I and the you, or the we and the me, or whatever it is. So cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it as an opportunity because things which we sometimes think of as unpleasant, which are coming into our lives, are really opportunities to, if you put them in context of our lives, they're opportunities to grow, opportunities to learn something new, and opportunities to stretch. Whereas the desire to not ever let go, not face change, is kind of an imprisonment, really.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's it. Mars is one of the planets that moves quite quickly, and so it'll move during this period of time until February. But what it's saying right now is, hmm, think of others. And I think, as we talk about manifesting our dreams, I think it's a really good reminder to think, okay, what are we trying to manifest? Are we trying to manifest a Porsche in the driveway or $1 million house in Aspen? Or are we trying to manifest harmony? And Mars down there is kind of saying it's about more than just your individual wants, desires, will. And once you see that and start living it, then your spirit is able to grow.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, if you go from the other part that's so interesting about this chart and which says this is such an important time is the fact that, we've been living in a very material time. For the past 200 years, Saturn and Jupiter, which are the planets which kind of rule our consciousness down here on Earth, have been in Earth signs. Now, from the time of COVID, they had a conjunction in Capricorn at the end of Capricorn, which kind of ends that period. And it says, okay, we're moving into a new age ruled by air. And so air and fire signs have become much more dominant. Now, why is this important? Because we've never had Saturn Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries in recorded history. And we haven't had air signs being the dominant reality in, I think it's been 500 years, few hundred years.
Something like that, yeah.
So this is a monumental shift. And what this um, chart shows is at 1 degree of Gemini, you've got Uranus. And Uranus is the bringer in of the new. It's like when Uranus comes into your chart,
Mhm.
everybody who's had a chart done by me probably has talked about Uranus. Yes, and Melissa's showing with the little pointer right where that is.
That's
And
Uranus, that's Gemini.
mhm. So that's the first air sign. Uranus, the great transformer, the great bringer in of cosmic consciousness of enlightenment, is conjunct with Sedna. Sedna, we've talked about, is kind of a magical transformation and a freeing. And so you have this ruler of the universe in a masculine energy in exact conjunction. So their energies are fusing with this feminine asteroid that is kind of magical transformation and making beauty out of um, rather sad occurrences. I won't go into the whole story because we don't have a lot of time. But the important thing is there's the masculine ruler of the universe with a feminine magical transformer in exact conjunction at the first degree of the first air sign. So here you go. Uranus, which is also very easy to time things by, is right there.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. So Sedna was an Alaskan goddess energy, and then I was down here when you were with Mars. That's Hemera, right? Next to it, 1 degree.
Oh, that is Maki Maki.
That's Maki Maki. Okay.
Yeah,
So a Hawaiian or so I thought the opposites again, the cold and the pull of Alaska and then the islands. It's really interesting
and
because
again, male and female.
yeah, and Sedna is involved with transformation, but transformation in water, and so is Hemera. I don't know where she is in the chart, Hemera, but I just see a tremendous amount happening with water. The floodings. We just had yesterday, was it that we had a huge earthquake in Russia that sent tsunamis out, tsunami warnings. So we're seeing a lot with water movement, which is interesting.
Absolutely. And Neptune, of course, is the ruler of the seas.
Yes,
So
that's
Neptune
true.
rules water right at the top of the chart.
Yeah.
And,
I don't
right
think
on.
we're done seeing tsunamis and flooding at all. So,
No, no, not at all.
yeah.
So to continue with the importance of the air signs, Mars, we've already talked about, right at 1 degree of Libra, the sign of harmony and balance and communicating in a way that brings peace, a way that is respectful of all. Um, and Mars sitting in there with Maki Maki, a Hawaiian goddess, again, male and female. And then, of course, very important is Aquarius because the moon's in Aquarius and it's saying, okay, look at this, think about this, figure this out in your life. And Pluto is, well, it's kind of at 2 degrees, but it's moving in retrograde. So it's going to go back into Capricorn. And Pluto is the huge transformational energy, the very, very deep, very passionate, very when Pluto comes into your life, you know it. There's no ignoring it. And so Pluto is saying, okay, we are doing this
Hmm.
and we're going to do it thoroughly. And we're going to go into the ground and we're going to get everything that's old out and we're going to allow the phoenix to rise. The phoenix used to be, well, in some cases it's considered as one of the symbols of Pluto. So Pluto's right there at the beginning of Aquarius, saying again, get ready
Hmm.
because we're there. We're at the dawning of the age of Aquarius for good now. So the moon in Aquarius and Pluto in Aquarius. Oh, and I have to tell you this, Melissa. We were talking about this earlier. The moon is at 17 degrees of Aquarius,
Great.
and that is there are Sabian symbols. Quite a while ago, I think it was in the 1800s, a psychic was asked to interpret each of the degrees of the zodiac. And these are called Sabian symbols now. 17 degrees is about, and it's exactly 17 degrees, which again is not even a minute past. Um, it's about protecting yourself from
Wow.
negative energies.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that.
Is that wild or what? Yeah.
Well, why Sonia brings this up is that I had asked her yesterday, and I also asked another healer the same question yesterday. I said, have you noticed recently people asking about Klingons, negative energies that stick to you, even possessions, negative entities? I've run into a few people that have been kind of dealing with levels of this energy lately. And for those of you who spend time with us on our chakra calls, we know that, or full moons or channelings with me, we start out all the time putting a container of light around the body, which the more you practice it, the more you start to recognize it's a force field. You know, your will is creating this vibrational space around your aura, your auric field, and it's beginning to put into it, the more conscious you get, what you want to experience as opposed what you want to repel, what you want to let go of. And so right now, it's super important. I mentioned it on yesterday's chakra call because that was the first time this had been coming to me the past few days prior to it, that, you know, there's a lot of flotsam and jetsam out there because everything's stirring up from the bottom. So there's a lot of astral energy around and it can pull you down. And so having a nice protective shell and an awareness of staying clear and using your tools to stay clear is really helpful at this time. And I would imagine, Sonia, that you could probably find out what Neptune, which can be very floaty, pulling you in directions of big destruction and distraction, and even believing in false things and so on and so forth, is probably in this mix somewhere as well, I would say. Would you? Yeah.
Oh,
Certainly at the
yes.
top, it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So the amazing thing, another amazing thing about the chart, um, the moon, when it moves 1 minute off of 17 degrees, is actually interpreted as being at 18 degrees. And 18 degrees, so the full moon is kind of the doorway between these two energetic interpretations is um, about watch out because things are going to be coming out of the woodwork in terms of um, things that you might have believed, illusions
Illusions.
that weren't right will be cleared up, and all kinds of things will come out into the open, out into the light that you had no idea that your beliefs were actually wrong. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, very much, very much tied to the idea of Saturn and Neptune. What is reality? Is reality this desk I can touch, or is reality spiritual? Is reality my body, or is reality my energy field? So all of this is coming um into I would say clarity, you
Yeah,
know.
I like the word clarity. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Clairvoyance, clarity. Um,
Exactly. And the nice thing about this chart too is that it's saying, okay, focus now. The test is on February 20th. So
hmm,
we have a nice period of time where we can, stop dithering and worrying about things and really just focus,
yeah. Pick, pick
knowing that,
pick your path. Yeah.
yeah,
And be
there is help
clear.
out there.
Yeah, and I think when you mentioned clarity and you mentioned what going into the 18 degrees, the doorway, sometimes it's challenging for people to go through that doorway into clarity because it seems I have this memory of a client saying many, many years ago when I first started this and kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. But she was just like, oh, she's just not warm and fuzzy. Her information is just, it's not warm and fuzzy, she would say. And so I asked another client, I was kind of like, what do you think about that? And she was quiet for a while and she said, well, you're very clear. And she said, clear sometimes is like glass, it feels sharp to people who want to stay in that fuzzy realm and not have to make a choice. And I know we talked about Leo being, me and Aquarius being them, but Leo has a tremendous heart and tremendous courage. And I think right now we need that courage to step out of our fuzzy, the beliefs we want to hang on to because we don't want to look at harsh things. And,
Exactly.
I'm happy to say I see people doing it. Yes, there's plenty of people that want to hang on to the past and hide behind some patriarchal idea of somebody's going to save us and we're perfect and America's all good and all that. But at the same token, we have to face the fact that we founded this on the blood of other people and took their land and their lives away from them. And so I think the
Mhm.
more we accept that and the clearer we get, the more we can step into that role of equanimity and balance. So we're not being,
Um,
like you said, bleeding hearts just for everybody else and suffering. and not being just for ourselves and, closing down our boundary, closing down our borders, but we're being, more clear of what is ultimately right, what feels right, what brings us into balance, what brings us into wholeness. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Wow.
there are hard choices to
Sure.
make. But again, as Melissa and I were talking a little bit earlier, Gemini is about choices, and a number of these planets are telling us in their own way the choices that you're making right now are important,
I
and you
agree.
have to be conscious
Yeah.
about those choices. And you have to think about what those choices mean, not just for you, but for the whole that we all are a part of. Um, you know what I really what really makes me happy about seeing this chart is that unity between male and female, and the unity that you see in the fact that it, everything is working together to help us get to this new place.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, it's you see some red lines in the chart. Everybody can see those red lines too. Those red lines are about, okay, this is where we have to work. This is where, the good stuff doesn't just drop in our lap, but we have to work on things. And as you can see, there's some work going on there. Um, and the work is really kind of emphasizing love and compassion.
So
Um,
just for folks that are new to this, those red lines are what Sonia's referring to as the work lines, the ones that are a little harder, the oppositions, the squares. And the blue lines, which there are a lot, I'm very happy to say, are the ones she's talking about where we have these cool opportunities, support from Venus, support, right? Don't we have support coming in from the
mhm.
love planet Venus?
Yeah, so that's over there where if you look at the circle as a clock, it's about 9 o'clock. And what you see is Venus and Jupiter, um, the other side,
Whoops, sorry. Oh, yes, here they are.
that nine
Oh,
o'clock.
they're in Cancer. Cool.
They're in Cancer, yeah. And Jupiter is dignified in Cancer. And so Jupiter works really well in Cancer. And a conjunction between Venus and Jupiter is a lot of very loving, very enlightened, very compassionate consciousness, um, and very connected. So in this chart, there's a sense of um, the a great potential for all of us to connect with each other, to care for each other, and to help each other to heal. Um, Another interesting thing about this chart is if you look at those red lines which oppose Venus and Jupiter. Um, yeah, over there. Um, what you'll see is a couple of very weird little names. Um, and those are centaurs, which are male asteroids.
Yep.
Um, and they kind of represent it's kind of funny. They represent the bestial nature of humanity, of all of us. And so it's interesting that what the chart is saying is compassionate love will help us to come out of our more animalistic natures into a truer consciousness. That's what that line means.
Mm.
Um, the other really interesting thing about where Venus and Jupiter are is that they're very close to where those planets are in the US chart. And I drew up this chart for the US based in Washington, D.C. And so, what that is drawing our attention to is that I think it's saying that love and compassion and generosity that our nation was founded on and that we have exemplified over the course of our history. Um, and I'm thinking about post World War II. Um, it's just below the surface, and we can bring it out. We can bring that love and that warmth into the light again,
Yeah.
into
Yeah. And
the
it
present.
it makes me think of like the Jeffrey Epstein case that's up when you talk about the beastie kind of aspect of love is that all that stuff that's been the Me Too movement, all that stuff that's been shining on that sort of bestial aspect of love, which is just, physicality and greed and So it's
Mhm.
kind of interesting. I'm sure if you did a chart on that or on Epstein or something. It's kind of interesting to me. He's Aquarius, uh, you know, so some bad choices there for sure, or some choices of going the darker path. Uh,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
you can take anything, I would say, in the news. Sonia could probably take anything, anybody, and draw up a chart on it, and we would see it being influenced by these very things that are happening in the stars. And one of the things I kind of wanted to end with today was, or to speak to sort of maybe close this a little, or ask Sonia about, was this idea of what's happening around the 24th and 25th of August, the end of August, when Venus is getting together again, is that they say that the female voices will be influencing the planet a lot. And so even in terms of just looking at the news, thinking yesterday or the day before, I saw that Kamala Harris had decided not to run for governor of California. And so one of the thoughts is she may be running for the next president again. And it just sort of struck me that's the vibe of women's voices coming forth. You'll see it in many, many ways. I think, that male aspect of the old patriarchal voice is sort of fading. And I don't mean to say that the feminine won't come through open-hearted males. It certainly will and have that opportunity. Just as, the masculine definitely can come through the feminine. So that was an interesting thing to me. And I can't remember what the exact astrological connection was again. I guess it was Jupiter and Venus together, coming together in a super trine. Where are they now? 10 degrees. Let's see if I could
yeah. Um,
find that.
yeah, I think, the unity and equality and balance that you see in this chart, and if you look really closely and let your eye follow the lines in there, you'll see two kites, a blue kite, two blue kites. There, one is pointing up and one's pointing down.
Here's this one here.
And you'll also see, the planets and the asteroids are in all of the signs. So there's there is a tremendous amount of balance in this chart. And looking at the feminine asteroids with the masculine planets and shows, we don't have to conform to the old divisions of men are this way and women are that way.
Exactly.
And we don't even have to conform to, some of these ideas. I think I used to teach about feminism in different countries. And the idea of feminism is very different in different countries. And our idea of feminism really emphasizes male qualities in women. We don't need to do that. Feminine qualities are just as valuable and just as important to humanity as are male qualities. It's just that we've assigned feminine qualities a negative valuation, whereas we've assigned masculine qualities a positive valuation. That's silly.
And again, it's breaking through those old patterns of thinking that we started out talking about. So this is what I was talking about. So on August 25th, Venus will enter Leo and start to form aspects to the outer planets. And these are the power planets that Sonia has been talking about that take long time to go around the chart. So they stick with us through generations. And they trine Saturn, it's sextile to Uranus, it trines Neptune, and it's opposite Pluto. So Venus is thus integrated into a harmonious aspect pattern with all these outer planets and expanding it to a new thematic dimension, which is like what you're saying, a different view of looking at what feminine power, what feminine energy is all about. So that's probably a
Yeah.
good way to maybe close. I'll let you.
Yeah, I think in the movement, we're going to have the inner planets will of course be moving quite a bit before February. And so, we can see that some of these qualities, Venus of love and caring for others and desire and all that, um, those different qualities within ourselves will
Mhm.
have a chance to evolve too.
Yeah,
Um, and the chart, this chart as a whole is saying it'll come in balance
it's a
as long as
perfect.
we work for it.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it too, because with everything you're speaking about the collective, I really feel, especially with Spirit has been talking about forgiveness and everything is like on a personal level. If it happens on a personal level, it moves into the collective. You can't just do it in the collective and try, without doing it internally. So we needed this growth space. We needed this transformation of individuals, and that's the process that we're in. From so many, many years ago, Spirit would said when I first woke up, I thought we are going to have a polar shift and the Earth was going to end overnight. It's like 40 years ago. And they basically said the polarity shift will be from material to spiritual. And now I'm actually seeing it in these last 5, 6 years happening. And it's really exciting. So.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
So, on that note, it's good to be aware of the movement of the moon. There she is up there in the seventh house, I guess, seventh, eighth house,
Yay.
eighth house, and which is a transformational death kind of house too. So and also an inheritance house. We're inheriting our spiritual natures again, which is really kind of cool. So I think it's really important to kind of be aware that this happens, this shift happens every 30 days or so, and taking some time out to really meditate during that time or join in a circle like for the full moon and receive a transmission, super helpful. And having an understanding of what the stars are telling us is super helpful as well. So very thankful of your work and all the astrologers out there that are shining this light on our awareness. And thank you for being with us today. So much appreciated.
Thank you for putting the work into getting it out.
Sonia knows that how challenging tech is for me, so that's part of what she means. Thank you. All right.
It takes time and attention.
Yeah. See you guys next time, and Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.